Found out my kids aren't mine and the system was about to destroy me, so I took drastic measures. Hey, my name is Peter. Pete, to my friends. I used to be a mechanic in a small town in California. My life was marked by loss from the very beginning. My parents died when I was very young, so I was raised in the state foster care system, bouncing from one home to another. I had no close family, no relatives to rely on. I only had myself and a dream of becoming a race car driver. I graduated high school and went straight to work. I wasn't book smart, so I bounced around from fast food joints to manual labor gigs, always living paycheck to paycheck. At 22, I decided to go to trade school to build a better life. Mechanics. That was the start of a new chapter. The work was hard and dirty, but it paid the bills, and with time and experience, I made enough to afford a few guilty pleasures. By the time I turned 26, my life was stable. That's when I met Sarah. She worked at a convenience store I used to frequent, and she was the kind of girl guys were always hitting on, so I took it as a challenge and a victory when I asked her out and she actually said yes. She was cute, though she had very left-leaning political views. It didn't bother me at first because it didn't affect me, or so I thought. We dated for 3 years. Then I proposed, and she said yes. I gotta admit, the first year was great. But when the first kid came along, a girl with blue eyes just like her mom, I was happy, but things weren't perfect. My paycheck took a hit. It wasn't enough to survive in California at the time. I asked my wife to work at least part-time. She tried, but quit after a few months and decided she didn't want to work anymore. Luckily, I landed a better job at a shop restoring vintage cars. I started at the bottom, but the money was enough to support the family. 4 years later, our second child arrived. I have blonde hair, so I didn't think it was weird that the kids had brownish hair like their mom. But my second son had very dark, almost black hair. That set off alarms in my head. But out of love, I shut them down and accepted it. Yeah, I know. I was an idiot for not wanting to face the truth. But if you think that was the only problem, well, you know how it goes. Before the blindfold comes off, you hear things. Rumors. Rumors about my wife with other guys. My wife spending money on stuff I never saw inside the house. And weird comments from my kids as they grew up. Like when my son would tell me with zero hesitation that Uncle John was better at helping him with math homework, a guy who was a friend of his mom, a guy with dark hair. Or my daughter getting more and more resentful toward me. She'd get mad at everything. If I called her for dinner, she'd huff at me or roll her eyes. If I asked about school, she'd answer everything with a, "You don't get it." Or her favorite variation, "You wouldn't understand. You're too old and old-fashioned." The growing emotional detachment, the lack of respect, and the dead bedroom became the norm in my house. For a long time, I thought it was normal, that I just had a goal. That I just had to suck it up, that it would pass. Man, was I wrong. I'm writing this so if you see any of these red flags, you don't make my mistake, and you get out in one piece, unlike me. Roast me if you want. I know I deserve it. But above all, don't make my mistakes. This scenario of zero sex, spoiled brats who despised me, and a wife who saw me as an ATM became my daily reality. I put up with it for 13 years. Not only did I have zero authority in my own home, but the rumors of my wife's infidelity had even reached my workplace. Colleagues and acquaintances had nicknames for me, but I turned a deaf ear. I put up with it because I believed my perfect wife would never do something like that. Not to me. Everything exploded in late 2021 when I tried to reprimand my eldest daughter for spending nearly $800 on a new cell phone, an iPhone. She was a kid. I couldn't understand how she thought she needed something that expensive. Turns out it was her mother and her friends who advised her to do it. They told her she deserved it for being a strong woman. Getting an A is great, but spending $800 without permission was too much. In that moment, after I called her out on the expense, she dropped the line that broke everything. "You're not even my real dad." I had my doubts, sure, but about my second son, not her. That hit me hard. It left me silent. It was like getting punched in the gut in a teenage brawl. I had the wind knocked out of me. The fight spilled over to her mother. When I told her what our daughter had said, she just looked at me with contempt. It was right there in the kitchen, around 10 p.m., that she spit the truth at me. Neither the girl nor the boy were my kids. They were other men's children. She told me she was sick of my complaining, sick that I didn't make more money, that she was sick of being married to a greasy loser mechanic. After unleashing all that, she told me to stay on the couch. Years of mistreatment, years of emotional neglect, years of enduring being the stranger in my own house, of being the cuckold nobody respects. All of it exploded right there. "You filthy whore," I yelled. "Everyone in the neighborhood knows, but I didn't want to accept it. You're a cheating bitch." Anger and helplessness got the better of me that day. I know. Another big mistake. Afraid that something worse might happen, I left my house and went to my friend George's place, a friendship I made over time at work. He worked in IT. A sober guy I shared drinks and big life events with. The only real friend I had left. The events following that day were terrible. A few days later, divorce papers arrived at my job. It all happened so fast, I knew this had been planned for a long time. I hired a regular lawyer, the kind you see advertised on a park bench. The outlook was totally against me. My lawyer told me there was no way to win. California is a no-fault state, so the infidelity didn't matter legally. The marriage of over 10 years meant it was almost certain I'd have to pay her alimony for life. And the worst part, even if DNA proved neither kid was mine, the judge would likely rule paternity by Estoppel because I'd raised them for so long, forcing me to pay child support for years. To top it off, I was barred from accessing my own home since my wife requested a kick-out order alleging psychological abuse because of my yelling. My kids, or the kids I thought were mine, testified against me. With that, I knew it was over. I was going to lose my assets, my trucks, my future pension, my savings. Everything was going down the drain. There were DNA tests, and sure enough, neither was mine. But as the lawyer warned, the system still wanted me to pay. The divorce would take between 6 months to a year, my lawyer said. I didn't have the strength to keep going, let alone the money. I had already started paying temporary support for those vipers and had very little left to survive. Sometimes I even thought about ending it all just to be free of the pain. During that time, because of the expenses, I was living in a cheap motel. I couldn't keep abusing George's hospitality, but one time he called me over for some beers at his place. He knew firsthand everything that was happening. He confessed that years ago, when he tried to warn me about my wife while we were drinking, I had punched him. I honestly didn't remember it well, but I felt even more miserable. He noticed my state, patted me on the back, and said, "Now that you're not married and not drunk, can I tell you what I think without a filter? Although this time, if you try to punch me, I'll hit back." Almost crying, I said yes and apologized. Then he gave me a light in that world full of suffering. Run. I was speechless. I understood what he was saying, but I didn't have the guts or the money. Then he reminded me of something that changed everything. Back in 2016, a job came up for me in the same city George was at for a tech event. That's where he told me about crypto. At first, I thought he was talking about credit cards, but no. He told me he had bought a single coin for a little over $600. He advised me to buy two. Since I was always a people pleaser, I agreed. I gave him the cash, and he bought it and held it for me. I forgot about it until late 2017, when that coin multiplied its value to 10 grand. George contacted me, we sold, and those 10,000 saved me from a bad financial rough patch with the family. Then in late 2018, the value had crashed to $3,000. George suggested getting back in. "It's the time. Maybe they'll go up again," he said. I wasn't doing great financially, and $3,000 was a serious effort, but I listened to him. He lent me the money to buy 2 coins more. I worked double shifts to pay him back that loan, and then forgot about it, assuming it would take years to be worth anything. Back to that night at his house, George brought the topic back to life. I didn't mention it before because I was afraid you'd use the money foolishly or declare it as an asset in the divorce where your wife would take half. He was right. Idiot me would have done exactly that. "Pete, the market is at its absolute peak. Those 2 coins we bought for 6 grand today in late 2021, they are worth together over $100,000. George walked to his safe and pulled out a small metallic object. It looked like a USB stick, a cold wallet. "It's all in here," he said, handing me the device and a piece of paper with the passwords. "Untraceable. No bank knows about this. No lawyer can touch it. My friend's plan was simple, but terrifying. Sell everything under my name discreetly. Don't declare the coins. Go to Mexico by land. Fly to South America from there, to a rural place where money goes a long way. At first, it seemed like madness, but he finished me off with one sentence. You were thinking about taking your own life, weren't you? I've seen that look. Buddy, running might look cowardly, but it's actually your only fight. Are you really going to let that bitch keep everything? Let her move her lover into your bed? Let those spoiled brats live off your back until you die? Or do you prefer to take justice into your own hands and screw them over with one step? Disappear. He explained that since the house still had a mortgage, once I stopped paying, the bank would take it. She wouldn't get a cent from me. It was either that or let them bleed me dry. That night, we planned my last stand. With over $100,000 in digital assets in my pocket, a fortune in Latin America, I could restart. The escape was simple. I called in sick at work, took my truck, and drove to the southern border. I found a shady dealer and sold the truck for cash. No papers, no questions asked. I walked across into Mexico. From there, I took a plane with 2 layovers to a rural country in South America. I stayed away from the tourist traps and beaches. I settled in a mountainous rural region where the air is cold and the people are tough but honest. Being a mechanic, I offered to fix old tractors and farm trucks for the locals. That earned me respect and barter deals. That's how I got my dog and a small piece of land. Life here is slow but peaceful. The food is fresh from the earth. Over time, I even got a girlfriend. Yenny, a young, simple, hardworking woman who treats me with a love I had forgotten existed. And what happened to my ex and the parasites? George keeps me updated via a secure line. It was pure karma. At first, they didn't even notice. They only realized when the support check didn't arrive and the utilities got cut. They tried to find me with police. They even got a search warrant for George's house. But they found nothing. Nobody beats George at hiding digital tracks. After 3 months, their power and water were cut off. By the 6th month, the bank foreclosed on the mortgage. She tried to sell the house above value to pay off her maxed out credit cards, but couldn't. The bank took the house. Knowing that was so satisfying, I slept like a baby that day. Without my money and the house, the lover ran off. The kids ended up living in a trailer park with their maternal grandparents, going to public school. According to George, my ex now works double shifts in a warehouse just to feed them. Her life of luxury is ruined. As for me, I only sold one of my crypto coins. I'm holding the other one. With the sale of the first one, I live comfortably as Gringo Pedro in the mountains. For obvious reasons, I won't say where I am. Crossing borders to avoid paying child support is a federal crime in the US, but I don't regret it. I still believe I did the right thing. Laugh at me if you want, but learn from my story. I'm not the only one the system wanted to fleece to support a cheating wife and another man's kids. George, if you're reading this, bro, you saved my life. I don't know if I can ever repay you. And to those reading this, think twice before getting married in a no-fault state. Goodbye, and good luck with your lives. Editor's note, this story is a haunting reminder of why paternity fraud is becoming such a massive talking point. Pete might be a criminal in the eyes of a no-fault state, but to many, he's just a man who refused to be a slave to a lie. Was he wrong for running, or did he just deliver the only justice the system wouldn't give him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And remember, watch for the red flags before it's too late.